what's new. Get ready.
Hello there, everyone, and welcome to episode 46 of the Play to Win podcast. My name is Keiran, and I'm, of course, joined by my awesome co-host, Tyler. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm excited to get back to the Forbidden West after we're done with this. If only for a little bit before I go out. But I'm excited. It's been good.
Yeah, depending on what time we finish recording, I will also be getting back into the Forbidden West, which we're going to touch on later. But this is the Play to Win podcast where we break down the shows, the industry's biggest. I've already messed this up so badly. Wow.
Words are all over the place. Dear Lord.
Apparently, I've forgotten how to speak English in the last week. This is a show where we bring in the biggest gaming news through in-depth discussion. Just as a reminder, you can find timestamps in the description of this video and all podcast episodes. So if you want to go ahead and skip around to, certain topics we talk about, then you can go and do that in the description of this video. Also, you can subscribe here on YouTube and take the notification bell so you know when new videos go live. You can also subscribe on podcast services. So you should do that because it's a good podcast, we think. So I'm going to preview the topics for this episode. I might just title it Train Wreck on Kieran's part. So the topics for this episode are the Wii U and 3DS eShops are closing down. EA has discussed their thoughts on the poor launch of Battlefield 2042. And we're going to get into a little bit later our first impressions of both Horizon Forbidden West and the patch 1.5, the next-gen versions of Cyberpunk 2077. Before that, however, we have a few brief mentions to get through, so I'm just going to rattle these off. The Witcher 3's director has formed a new studio with former CD Projekt Red developers called Rebel Wolves. Their first product is a AAA dark fantasy RPG that's the first in a planned series and is being made with Unreal Engine 5.
Wonder how that's going to turn out, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to be a while before we see it is what it is,
Yeah.
But hey, hopefully it ends up being good.
Yeah, if it can be like 5% better than Cyberpunk's launch was, then they're fine.
5%. I think you need a higher bar than 5%, to be honest.
Sony will plant a tree for every player who earns the Reached for the Daunt trophy in Horizon Forbidden West, which I think is an awesome thing. I think it's like plant to play to plant, something like that is their new initiative.
Interesting little thing that they're doing.
Yeah. Horizon Forbidden West Tall Neck Lego set has been announced. It will release on May 22nd for $80. Ubisoft CEO, I always mispronounce
Yves Guillemot.
Yves, thank you. I always want to call him Yves, and I'm like, no, that's not. Yves Guillemot has emphasized the company's independence, but isn't completely shutting the door on any potential acquisition offers. Crunchyroll is now available on Switch. Netflix
real quick before so the Ubisoft thing, it's definitely interesting because Ubisoft in the past, they were trying to fight off being acquired and bought out by Vivendi, and they were really adamant, no, we're not gonna let it happen. So that's why it's interesting now that he's saying, well, we're happy being independent. We have our IPs are thriving and all like that. We're doing good. But I mean, if someone had an offer, it would be reviewed, obviously. It's really interesting the fact that he's even leaving the door open a tiny bit on the topic at all, considering just a couple of years ago, it was just a no, close the door, bar it up, hold it closed. We need 5 people against the door, hold the door, don't let them come on in. It's interesting. So, I mean, do I think it's going to happen anytime soon? No, but I also think it's interesting that he's saying, hey, we're not completely opposed to the idea.
Yeah.
As of now.
Yeah. Basically done a complete 180 in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I guess you could say it's a 180. It's not a full 180. I'd say it's a 90-degree turn. It's just I was look to the side okay, maybe.
Or was it? I'll just read the last few. Crunchyroll is now available on Switch. Netflix has announced a BioShock movie, which I'm actually very excited for. I'm looking forward to that. The Halo TV series has been picked up for a second season. I don't think the first season's out yet, right? Are you frozen?
And he's like, oh, they're doing a second season already? Okay.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, you froze for a second. I was like, no. Okay.
Oh,
We're good.
you got a froze for a bit too, but did you hear what I said?
Nope, not a word.
Oh, so I'll say it again. It's interesting that this first season hasn't come out yet, but
Yeah.
it's already been renewed for a second season. So I mean, maybe Paramount over there, and they see like, hey, maybe there's like a whole lot of potential and quality behind it, or
Yeah.
maybe they're just hoping for the best on this. It's very interesting. I hope to God that that show actually ends up being good. Because
Yeah.
if it's not good and it's getting a second season, it's just like, man, step it up. No one's gonna be excited for the second
Yeah.
season.
Yeah, like I just to kind of chime in on that is like I watched the trailer, like the proper trailer when they revealed it, and afterwards I'm like, cool, but what is it about? Like, yes, I get that it's Halo and I get that it follows Master Chief, but like I still know nothing of what the show is actually going to be about.
I mean, it's as I understand it, they come across a forerunner piece of artifact, and it's telling its own story in the Halo universe, not
Yeah,
connected to the games at all, aside from taking place like in that obviously in the Halo universe, but it's its
yeah,
own canon. So like its story is gonna be interesting. I'm not watching it because I don't have Paramount Plus, and I genuinely don't. I don't feel like I'm gonna be missing out on anything, to be honest.
yeah. Quite a lot of like video game news this week, because sorry, video game like movie and TV
Media,
adaptation
yeah.
news this week, because Sonic the Hedgehog 3 has been announced and 2 is not out yet, as well as a Knuckles TV series starring Idris Elba, which, judging from his performance as Knuckles in the trailer that we've seen, I'm actually kind of excited for the TV series.
I'm not gonna lie. Like I read this and I was like, I gotta watch the first one, don't I? Like it's on Hulu. I just have not gotten around to watching it. But I'm like, man, everyone's hyped for the second one. This third one's coming out. The second one looks good. I'm like, you know what? I maybe I need to watch the first one and then watch the second one. And even if they're not really good movies, like at least at the bare minimum, like they'll probably be like entertaining watches.
Yeah, I watched the first one maybe like a month and a half ago. Like it's a good movie. It's entertaining. It's not like up there with my favorites, but it's pretty good.
Mhm.
Uh,
Real quick, the Bioshock thing. I feel like Bioshock will work better as a series as opposed to a movie.
I absolutely agree. That was kind of my first thought when I saw it, and I'm like, interesting.
Yeah, not saying it can't work, but
No, exactly.
a series would just do so much more justice to that material.
Yeah. Uh, and our last brief mention, Majora's Mask is coming to Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack on February 25th. Same day Elden Ring launches.
Yep, it's cool. That's cool. Although, again, like I tweeted on Twitter, why they just like announce these things at random times is beyond me. Because they
Yeah.
announced this at like 8, 9 o'clock at night. It was just like, why was this not announced like earlier in the day at 1 p.m.? Why are you dropping this in like this time of night? It doesn't make any sense. But hey,
Yeah.
it's cool. It's cool. It's coming.
Just Nintendo things. That will round out our brief mentions, so we are going to move on to our first news topic. That topic being that Nintendo is closing down the Wii U and 3DS eShops. I'm going to read the first kind of 3 points we have here, and then we can talk about it, and then I'll read the last little bit. So, shop-related deadlines, May 23rd, 2022, you will no longer be able to add funds with a credit card to a Wii U or 3DS eShop account. Then on August 29th, 2022, you can no longer add funds with eShop cards to the Wii U or 3DS accounts, but download codes can still be redeemed. And in late March 2023, you can no longer make purchases, download demos or themes, redeem download codes, or add funds to an account. Actually, this kind of ties in. Prior purchases can still be downloaded after the final deadline, as well as any game updates. Nintendo has no plans for making these games available elsewhere. Yeah, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, this was announced, and of course, everyone was just like, no, what do you mean? Like, it was basically the same response that fans had to Sony when Sony announced that they were going to
Yeah.
be shutting down the stores for the PS3, PSP, and the Vita. And back when that happened, of course, I believe over the course of like the weekend, Jim Ryan and over there at Sony, it wasn't a weekend, it was like a week or two later. Jim Ryan over at Sony put out another blog post saying, hey, you know what? We hear the response, we understand. We kind of made like the wrong call on this. So the stores aren't going to close just yet. I think one of them did close. I believe it was the PSP store, I think, did close, but the Vita and PS3 ones are still open. If I'm right, I think it was that they said like we're gonna delay it. We're not gonna do it right now. They're gonna stay
Yeah.
open, but it's just not gonna happen as of yet. So when that happened, people were like, yeah, great. So I've seen people say, hey, the way y'all bullied Sony and keeping them open, think y'all could do the same for Nintendo?
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's kind of it's it's not like an unspoken truth, but Nintendo fans tend to kind of give Nintendo a pass on a lot of stuff that they
Yeah.
do. That's kind of like, hey, we shouldn't be giving them a pass on this just because they're Nintendo and they make Mario and Zelda and stuff like that.
Yep.
That shouldn't matter when their policies on things is just terrible and backwards. It doesn't make any sense. And I mean, again, that's not to say that these stores could stay open forever. I
No.
don't think they could at all. Like at some point, the stores do need to close. They will close at some point in time. But what people take issue with is the fact that, and just this, what also people took issue with for the PS3, PSP, and Vita stuff is the fact that you're closing the stores, but there's not going to be any way to get those things other than emulation or pirating or whatever. Like you're not
Yeah.
making it, you're not offering another way to buy these games for the sake of preservation or just, for people to want to play them again at some point in time down the road. And that's like at the core crux of people's like point of contention and argument against this, same with the PlayStation stuff. And I completely understand that. At the same time, though, I am also of the same mindset that I've seen other people of, that being that y'all weren't buying these games and y'all weren't thinking of these games one little bit until this got announced. Then it's like, whoa, we want to buy them. We want to buy them. Whoa, wait. Don't make it go away. That side of things, it's funny to think about. But again, that preservation aspect is what people are really concerned about and worried about and upset about, because Nintendo's just like, yeah, no, we're not gonna do it. And I don't know if you had pulled up the link that I sent you, well, that I put there on the doc, because Nintendo had an FAQ up on their like page where they announced this and everything, and they had a section about like, hey, why aren't we keep making this stuff available for purchase, right? And they took this out because, of course, people were upset about it. I'll just if you don't mind, I'll read like the question they have in the response. So the question that they have like in the FAQ about it said, once it is no longer possible to purchase software in Nintendo eShop on Wii U and the Nintendo 3DS family of systems, many classic games for past platforms will cease to be available for purchase anywhere. Will you make classic games available to own some other way? If not, then why? Doesn't Nintendo have an obligation to preserve its classic games by continually making them available for purchase? Now, I'm going to skip their first two responses here. Like the first two responses basically say, hey, we have Nintendo Switch Online membership plans where they have classic games in there. We think that's a great way to do it, right? But the response that everyone was getting at was the fact that they say, just straight up, we currently have no plans to offer classic content in other ways. That is verbatim what they said here. Yep. Direct quote from Nintendo. Doesn't Nintendo have an obligation to preserve its classic games? We have no plans on doing that. Don't ask us for that ever again. So, like, they took that out because people were just like flaming them and hating them for it. Like, I guess rightfully so on that point. Like, again, they're being transparent and clear about what they're going to do, but it's just the bluntness of it, and the fact that they're like, they know what people's going to ask them, which is why they phrase that question the way they did. It's the way the question's phrased, and then the response is just like, wow, y'all just don't care. Y'all just don't care.
Yeah, that's kind of like excuse me, do you know who I am sort of thing? Like just that kind of level of audacity, I guess. But like on one hand, like kind of with you, I get it. It's like, who was still buying games on the Wii U and the 3DS? Like, I'm sure some people are, sure. I'm sure there are some people who still own those consoles and use those consoles. But at the same time, it's like, really though? Do you really need those stores open now, considering that I'm going to go ahead and say that a vast majority of Nintendo's current player base exclusively play on Switch? Like, that's I don't think that's a far stretch to say. So it's like, yeah, it would be nice to offer them or offer the stores to still be available. And yes, it would be nice to, Nintendo not to be having one of the bluntest responses I think I've ever seen. But at the same time, I get where they're coming from. Like, they can't keep them open forever. Said like they have to go at some point. So
Mhm.
I mean, it still sucks for sure. Like, you're not
Yeah.
gonna be able to get those games. And like I would have thought that Nintendo would have been somewhere alongside Xbox in terms of like their emphasis on backwards compatibility, because they know that a lot of their fans like have a large amount of nostalgia and want the games they've owned on previous Nintendo systems to still be available. But it's the way the cookie crumbles, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's not this. I guess it's different when it comes from Wii U to Switch, because Wii U, the games there, they might have had different play styles,
Yeah.
like controls, because again, you had the touchpad for that. So translating like direct ports from that to Switch, I imagine might not be like that straightforward in terms of like,
Yeah.
oh, I was able to just put it over here, and on top of that, different architectures. I mean, again, that's getting into technical jargon and everything that
Yeah.
I clearly am not an authority on. So I'm not trying to sit here and act like an authority on it. But I'm sure there's technical reasons in terms of like why just like we can't just like bring over every single game from from those platforms to this one, especially in terms of like the DS and 3DS. Like, those were dual screen games. They had a specific setup for them. It's not, you can't just easily directly translate that to a single screen platform. It's just not possible at all in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
I saw some people also bring up the fact like, oh, Xbox has been able to, has their store still going up for like the 360 and everything. It's just like, well, their store is unified across the board. And on top of that, that's only 360 games that are backwards compatible. That's not every 360 game, as far as I know. If I'm wrong on that, I'm wrong on that. Please correct me if I am.
It's not every 360 game. It's a large majority of them, I think, but not.
Yeah,
every.
like I'm pretty sure it's literally just like at least I believe it's only the ones that are backwards compatible as of right now that you can purchase. So I mean, even then, it's like yes and no. And Microsoft they themselves just said, yeah, we got to stop backwards compatibility because we hit we hit the point where we can't do it anymore because of legal things, licensing, technical limitations, what have you. So I'm sure these are all factors that come into play when it comes to the decision to shut down the store and why games aren't being made available for purchase elsewhere, because maybe they have to, in order for those games to be made available for purchase elsewhere, they have to talk to the game publishers and developers who who may not want to sell the game anymore, who might just want it to be dead, or might want to charge Nintendo a fee to keep on selling it on their store, or what have you. They might not want to pay a fee in order to be on Nintendo's store for however long. Who knows what the case may be. There are probably loopholes like that. I'm sure there's server costs for just keeping these servers up. I'm sure there are many reasons, legitimate reasons, why they are shutting these stores down and why they are not considering avenues to make these games available elsewhere. It just sucks that they're not making the games available elsewhere.
Yeah, no, like I completely agree. But I was also going to mention it's not free for Nintendo to keep these stores running. Like, it's going to cost them in servers and like for like electricity, I guess. But like it's going to cost them in some way to keep their stores running. And I'm sure they've done like a cost analysis of like, this is how much it'll cost us to keep it running. This is how much it'll cost, or this is how much money it's making. And like, if that gap is big enough, that's probably one of the reasons that's led to them wanting to close these stores.
So do you think they're going to reverse course? And if so, when?
I mean, I think they could. I think if fans don't give them
not could. Do you think they will?
Oh.
Do you think they will reverse? Not could they, not would, will they? Yes or no? Do you think they will?
No, I don't.
I don't see it happening either. Yeah. I don't. Nintendo they're a company that like stuck in their mindset.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
think they're gonna do it.
Yeah. Nintendo does what Nintendo does and no one else is gonna change their mind. So no, they're not gonna go back.
Now, if they were to reverse course,
Yeah.
when do you think they would?
Um,
Like,
I
how long
mean,
do you think it'll take for them to be like, all right, it'll stay open?
I'd say probably like max a couple months. Like I don't think they're gonna want to. I mean, I think they're gonna want to make like a final decision soon. As much as in Nintendo's head, I'm pretty sure the decision's final. But
Yeah.
yeah, like a couple months at most.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine if they're going to make a decision, they have to do it before this May 23rd first
Yeah.
deadline arrives. Because I'm sure if they decide to reverse course, then everything else gets pushed back some, probably.
Yeah.
So if they're going to reverse course on it, I imagine we'll be hearing about it sometime in March, ideally. I don't think we'd find out in April. I think April might be a bit too late or pushing it a bit too much. I think March would be, if they reverse course, that's when they'll do it. But again, this is also Nintendo. So like, if they do decide to reverse course, they might announce it at like 11:59 on a Thursday night and just be
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, by the way, we're not doing this. Thursday
Yeah.
night, May 22nd. Just like,
Yeah. Like I often imagine Nintendo makes decisions about this kind of stuff. Like, you know, in like an action movie when they have like they're trying to stop a bomb going off and the countdown's going down and they always stop it at like 1 second.
Yeah.
That's how I imagine Nintendo makes these kind of decisions.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Just there's like a massive red button in Bowser's office, just abort.
Abort.
Yeah. Sucks they're shutting down. Hopefully that will get reversed sooner rather than later. Now we are going to move on to EA's thoughts on the poor launch and reception to Battlefield 2042. You might know more about this than I do. Was it like an investors meeting or something that they were talking about this?
So no, they had like an internal like town hall of sorts, like kind of like a post-mortem of sorts. Basically talking with, I believe it was the developers about, hey, this is what happened with the game. This is what's going on, so on and so forth. And this wasn't a public thing, but there's an insider out there named Tom Henderson who regularly has like insider knowledge on Battlefield and some Call of Duty games, I think, as well. But I've seen a whole lot of insider stuff from him in regards to Battlefield and everything. And he had the insider knowledge on this and just was kind of tweeting it out as it happened, and then wrote the article and stuff about what EA's executives and the higher ups over there were saying in regards to like the poor launch and the poor reception to Battlefield 2042. And it was just like, all righty, this is what you all are saying, okay.
Yeah, so they placed a strong emphasis on the kind of poor launch of Battlefield 2042. They placed a strong emphasis on bugs, working from home due to the pandemic, not living up to player expectations from the series and live service games, game design and missing features, and the release of Halo Infinite, which further painted Battlefield 2042 in a bad light. What do you make of their reasons as to why it was poor?
Well, I mean, again, like all of those top four things are very true. Like I've when the game came out, whether it be the beta or early places or whatever, you heard people talk about bugs. Obviously, working from home is going to play a factor in all things.
Yep. 100%.
Even if like it's a cop out like answer, like reason to give at this point in time, like it's still a reason. It was made during the pandemic. Of course, that's going to affect things for sure.
Yep.
But like not living up to players' expectations from the series and live service games in terms of like regular updates and so on and so forth, like that's definitely played a factor in things as well. The game design goes into the player expectations for the series and missing features like the specialist system. People really aren't fond of that. There's still no scoreboard in the game, like no proper scoreboard in the game at all right now. It was supposed to come with the first update, like the March update, but like no, it's supposed to come in an update this month, but that got pushed back to March. And the first season of the game was supposed to start this month, but that's not coming until early summer because they're still trying to fix things with the game and all. So like there's just been so many things at like a design level and a technical level that have just like gone wrong with Battlefield 2042 that has people upset. But the one that people have clowned them about is the release of Halo Infinite, because they're just people have been saying how they're gonna blame Halo Infinite for Battlefield's problems. And like they're not directly blaming Halo. What they're saying is our game had bugs and we launched it on a Thursday and had bug. You know, it was getting a good reception at first. Like people were kind of enjoying it, but there were bugs and everything. And then the following Monday, Halo just surprise launched the multiplayer.
Yeah.
And it was far more polished than our game that launched 4 days earlier. So because of that, our game proceeded to look even worse than it already was. That's literally all they said about it. But you know, you see some people saying how they're going to blame Halo Infinite. It's not directly blaming Halo Infinite at all, but it's just it's a point of comparison that they're making.
Yeah.
And that point is very true. I mean, say what you want about Halo's lack of content, but in the battle pass, like those things rightfully the game got, you know, criticized for.
Yeah.
But you couldn't say it wasn't a polished game. Like I haven't experienced a single bug in Halo Infinite. And all the games I played, all the hours I put into it, I don't think I've experienced a single bug once.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think to remember if I have, and I don't think I have either. Like it is a very polished game. Like I'm definitely in the same boat as you. Is like the first four are very understandable reasons as to why Battlefield 2042 didn't launch as well as it could. If, like you say, number two is kind of a cop-out answer, but still it plays a factor in it. Like I haven't played 2042 since like the last beta test that they did, so I don't know what the current state of the game is. I would imagine it's still not great. So
that's definitely the correct impression based off like just I mean I don't have it. My brother has it. I see him watch him like play for like 30 seconds every now and then whenever I see him playing it.
Yeah.
But I mean he's also playing on Xbox One, the original Xbox One, not like the One X. I mean, it doesn't matter to him. He's just like playing it. But the reception I've seen online from people, from players and fans, is just that, yeah, this ain't good. Like it's buggy, you know, it's buggy. Its features are like all weird and stuff. Just people aren't happy with it.
Yeah, so it's like I understand why people aren't playing it. I do hope the game gets better because like it has potential if they put enough into it to be quite successful, in my opinion. Like I think them just having multiplayer and just having like the kind of focus on it that they do, I think is somewhat the right direction for the Battlefield series, although I would still like a campaign, especially since I was always thinking like the Crossfire X campaign was going to be like the Battlefield campaign I never got. And then I looked at a bunch of reviews for it, and then I'm like, yeah, I don't want to play that. So, yeah, like,
I could tell that from the very first preview I saw for Crossfire. Saw a preview for that. I was like, yeah, nah, it's gonna be a hot mess.
Yeah, and kind of hearing what you said about like, because I had only really seen headlines about like the blaming Halo Infinite, so I thought they were just outright like, no, Halo Infinite ruined the launch of Battlefield. But like in terms of what you had said, where like because Battlefield launched in such a poor state and then Halo launched in like such a good state technically, aside from the battle pass, like yeah, it does paint 2042 in a quite a bad light considering the number of things that I've seen people complain about that game. So yeah, what do we think the future of Battlefield is? Do we think this is the end of the road or just kind of somewhere to work up from?
I mean, they all right. I don't think it's the end of the road. They put
No.
Vince Zampella in charge of the franchise recently, so like they obviously still want to do stuff with it. They still see potential in it and all, but I feel like it's gonna be a bumpy road. Like I think this is like rock bottom. Like I don't see how much worse the franchise can get at this point. It could only go up from here, and it's just a matter of them bringing it up, really just putting in the work to fix things with the game, make it better, and put the features in it that needs to be put in, add more maps, so on and so forth. Just get it back to a place of prominence and prestige that the Battlefield franchise once had. Like I remember when Battlefield 3 came out and people were like, yeah, it's Battlefield, or like they were real gung-ho about it. Battlefield 3 came out, and granted back then I don't really remember what it was like technically when it first came out, like what type of problems there might have been and all like that. But Battlefield 3, it had a level of prestige behind it. Same
Yeah.
with Battlefield 4 when that came out. And that has slowly but surely gone away with each subsequent Battlefield game that's come out. All leading up to now with 2042, where like it is the worst it could possibly be. And it's just all right, you gotta fix things. Like do it, disappear, do what you gotta do to take time to fix it, but like be open with your communication with the players in regards to what's going on with the game, what you're going to be doing in the game with for the future, and see like pay attention to what is wrong, see what you need to do to fix things going forward, and just basically do a full blown course correction. That's basically what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Do a course correction because that's what Battlefield needs right now.
Yeah, it's like I suppose that's kind of one of the big downsides with launch, because like in previous Battlefield games, you've had like campaign or like the kind of like mini missions that you had in 1 and 5. Um, where like if you just launch with multiplayer instead of campaign multiplayer, like Firestorm, I guess you could say, um, like if that one thing that you're doing isn't good, then people are not going to want to continue to play your game. So like, I mean, like you say, they need to course correct. They need to sit down and be like, okay, this is exactly what we need to do to fix Battlefield. This is exactly how we're going to do it, and then go from there and just hope that they can improve it enough to where they can kind of. I think it would be smart to kind of like show it off in some way again, like not like an E3 level, like look at our game showcase kind of thing, but just like do kind of like a state of Battlefield kind of thing, I reckon.
I
Um,
think the time I think the time that they would want to ideally do that would be um when they have EA Play, when the game's first
yeah,
season is coming up, when the game's first season is about to start up. Do a like, hey, this is season 1 of the game. Here are the maps that are coming, here are the weapons that are coming, here are the specialists that are coming. Here are also all the fixes that we are doing
yeah,
to the game to improve the experience, to make this the Battlefield that you all know and love and want it to be. If this doesn't make it that, to at least start moving it down that
mhm,
road, down that path. And I mean, of course, that'd be like a nice headline, like EA Play Battlefield 2042 is, looking like a bright future right now, looking like it's made it out of the storm, so to speak. It's made it
yeah,
out of the tornado, out of the thunderstorm, the dust cloud, whatever you want to call it.
yeah.
Um, and I think that would be their goal ideally, but you don't want to rush,
No, exactly.
fixing a game.
Yeah. So I'm hopeful that they're going to get it back into a state, or at least get it to a state where they can bring people back in and say, hey, look what we've done. This is how the game plays now. We've added in all the things you wanted. We've fixed all the bugs you wanted us to fix. So I hope it can get to that point. It's just going to take them a bit of time. So that's kind of all the like main news stories we have this week. Although we're gonna do like a hybrid kind of what we've been playing, where it's gonna be what we've been playing because we have both been playing two of the same games.
Yeah.
But it's also gonna be our kind of like first impressions of Horizon Forbidden West and Cyberpunk 2077 on next gen consoles. So I'm gonna start with Tyler just because he has one game in addition to the two that we both share. So
Yeah.
you can
I'll
go over
just
that.
Yeah, I'll just spitfire that real quick. I played a bit of Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep this week. The past few weeks, I've been jumping into the games and just recording the cutscenes
Hmm.
for this video that I'm working on for the game's 20th anniversary, the series 20th anniversary. I'm on a time limit with this. Time is not on my side. That was emphasized this week when I went to Birth by Sleep. I'm like, all right, let me start getting the cutscenes for this game. And turns out I never finished Birth by Sleep on PS4. I was just like, wait, what? I thought I did. What do you mean I didn't finish it? So thankfully, like I was halfway through the final character story. I was halfway through Aqua's storyline. So I was like, all right, I'm at a point where I know what I need to do and I could knock this out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So just did the grinding I needed to do to set myself up to have an easy, like ending of the game, like last half of the game. and I played for 3 hours, and I skipped every cutscene, played for 3 hours, got some final world like right before the last of the boss fights. So next time I play the game, barring any barring a bunch of deaths or whatnot, it should take me long. I just have to. There's some things I have to find to unlock. There's some things I have to find and then complete, and before I can finish Aqua's storyline, so I can get the secret ending as well, get all of that and record all that stuff. Should not take me long. Only take me 2 hours, but that's still 2 hours of time that I don't have for this project I'm trying to work on. So that is that. But it did remind me that, man, Birth by Sleep's combat, it's not that great. I enjoyed it back in the day. After, in hindsight, man, I forgot that floatiness is not fun.
Yeah, I don't really have any questions about Birth by Sleep because I don't have any questions about Kingdom Hearts. So
oh yeah, that's fine. I mean, it was something else that I remember. I was like, oh yeah, I did play that this week. I'll just throw that in here real quick. It's like a little quick thing to say.
Yeah. I mean, if we're on that note, then I've played a tiny bit of Ghost of Tsushima, but I'm on Act 3 now. That's the only update I have, so that's why I didn't put it in here.
Nice.
Yeah, on Act 3, we'll be finishing that game at some point next week.
Cool.
So now we're gonna get on to the games that the two of us share on this list, which is a rare occurrence. We don't often share video games on what we've been playing.
We don't. It's very rare for that to happen.
Yeah.
And I figured we'd only share one, not two this week, considering what you said last week.
I caved.
You caved. You made the right decision, you mean?
Sure. Yeah, so we're going to start off with Cyberpunk 2077 because I think that's the one we'll have least to say about because I've only played it for 2 or 3 hours.
I played it for all of 1 hour, I think.
Okay.
I played enough to drive around, get a couple screenshots that I posted on Twitter, and then I said, all right, I'm good. It was literally just an hour. That's all it was, maybe even less than that. Because I played it the same day that I downloaded the update, and the update finished at 11:30, 11:45 at night. I was like, all right, I'm gonna hop on here real quick, drive, screenshots. All right, I'm good. That's all I wanted to do.
Yeah. I think I started installing the update at some point in the morning and it was done 10 minutes later, so I just stopped in.
Nice.
But yeah, my kind of first impressions of the update are the game looks significantly better than it did before. You can absolutely tell that they've put in a lot of they've put a lot of work, and it was definitely worth the delays of the next gen versions to get it to the point it is now.
I imagine this is what PC players were having.
Yeah.
Maybe not. This isn't of course ultra settings, everything that
exactly.
PC had, but I'm pretty sure I want to see the Digital Foundry comparison. That's what I really want to see.
Yeah.
For PS5, Series X, and Series S and PC. But I imagine this is comparable to what the PC experience was.
Yeah. Yeah, because and in the screenshots that I have taken, which I have still yet to post on Twitter, but I will do at some point. I've gone back and looked at them, and I'm like, this actually looks like it was taken on a somewhat high-end PC. It genuinely looks a lot better. I played, I think, almost half and half in performance and ray tracing, or the ray tracing, then high frame rate modes.
Yeah, I only did the performance mode. I mean, not performance, the ray tracing, because I was I want the ray tracing.
Yeah. And I think I prefer the ray tracing mode, but I don't know what it is, but my eyes, I think, have become quite sensitive to lower frame rates that aren't 60 frames a second. Because when I was playing the ray tracing mode, I'm I can tell that this is not 60 frames a second, and that's why I kind of switched out between them. Was because I was I don't know if I can play like this for the entirety of however long I'm going to play this game. One thing I wasn't super impressed with was there still aren't that many people on the street. There's still not a lot of cars driving by, not a lot of people walking around. Yeah, from the streets that I drove on, there weren't a whole lot of people. There wasn't a whole lot of atmosphere.
Well, what time of day was it? Was it night or day?
Both.
Oh, okay. I only play it at night. And again, my test case scenario, whatever you want to call it, my test group, not that big to work with here. but my save could pick me up right at nighttime because I was about to go do the last mission and all. And so I started right at the building where the last mission begins at. Well, I should say the point of no return. I guess you could call it that. That was when my save started. So like it's also nighttime. So I don't think there were too many people there, but I did like walk around for a bit. When I was walking around, I saw like a fair amount of people, but again, I also wasn't necessarily in like high traffic areas.
Yeah.
And I was trying to remember like, all right, where on the map were there like a lot of people? And I couldn't really remember. So I was just like, I just want to drive. I just want to drive, see what the driving is like, see what in different environments like it all like that.
Yeah.
And some areas I got out and like there were like a fair amount of people and all. I was trying to specifically find your apartment from the beginning of the game, because I was like, all right, I remember that area. You walk out like there's just like a bunch of people. Well, it's supposed to be a lot of people there. Couldn't find it though. I wasn't too happy with the fact that the map doesn't show me, hey, this is where your apartment is. I couldn't find it on my map, so I was just like, all right, it is what it is. I don't really care. I'm tired. I'm just like trying to get screenshots.
Yeah.
But when I was driving, I did see a good amount of cars, which I was happy about it, because I remember when we did the episode, I said that once I start driving, the world just goes empty. Like there's no cars on the road. There's barely any people out. And when I was driving, I was like, oh, wait, I actually have to avoid cars on the road now. Hold on a second. I can't just drive willy-nilly anymore because there are actually people on the road. It's not just me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll probably go back and play through a little bit more, because I did start a new playthrough. I got to the the mission with Jackie where you go in and save the girl.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
the
far
first
as
one you all do together.
Well, I've done like I've done some of like the prologue stuff. And I also played as a street kid this time and not corpo. So
nice.
But yeah, like I'll probably go back and play. It's not a game I'm planning on playing every week or even like every other week. It's more like whenever I feel like it, I might jump back into it. But like the large majority of like kind of feedback or reviews I've seen for like the latest patches, like people are actually liking it quite a bit. Like it's improved a lot of the stuff that I guess people had complaints with. So I've largely positive stuff so far.
Yeah. I read not everything, but I saw like some of the things that they've added to the game. So like they had it so now that your romances, they'll actually text you more throughout the game, and like they'll actually send you pictures of stuff throughout the game. I'm like, oh, that's cool. It adds like more depth and connection there. That's awesome.
Yeah. They also stay at your apartment overnight now, I think.
Yes, there's that too.
Yeah.
They made it so that you can also have multiple apartments. You could change your appearance, kind of sort of. When you look at certain mirrors, I think only mirrors in your apartments.
Yeah.
Like if you look in them, you could change your appearance. They've reworked the perk system and everything. So like if you start now, all your perks are at 0. And I was like, that's a bit annoying. I mean, I understand why it's like that, because again, you change everything, you got to put everything back at 0. But I was like, that's a bit annoying because I don't remember what I had and where things were. So I mean, I'll have to read into it, look at the skill trees and decide, all right, how do I want to respec my end-game V now? Because of whenever DLC comes out, I imagine I'll just continue that playthrough. But I will say that I don't know, maybe driving felt a bit better because I was using a car. So I don't know. I think driving felt a bit better. But I will say that reading all like the stuff that they added with this patch, combined with the visual overhaul the game got, in the moment I was like, am I about to start a second playthrough? Because it honestly seems like with this new patch and these visuals, it seems like starting over will basically be like playing the game brand new.
Yeah.
Kind of, sort of. And part of why I thought that was like, y'all done took my V and took all his abilities away. Shoot, I don't remember what I had. I might as well start a second playthrough. But I think about it again, I'm like, the choices really aren't going to be any different, though. Do I really want to do the whole game over again for the same choices? I don't know. But I mean, it has me strongly considering, man, like before I said I wouldn't replay this game again with just new visuals, but now it's new visuals and some overhauled, redone features. That seems like it'll
Yeah.
make the game a better game and make it, one that is maybe better than a 7.5. Maybe now it's an 8 in my
Yeah.
eyes, doing a whole new playthrough. So I don't know. I'm still torn. It's very low on my priority list right now, of course, considering all the other games that I
Yeah.
have that I want to play and that are coming out. But now I'm not like completely just like, all right, you're in the bargain bin, you're in the wastelands of my backlog, like just to be forgotten until one day you rise up from the ashes. Like
Yeah.
it's like, oh, you seem nice. You got to glow up. You got a haircut, didn't you? You want to hang out sometime? You know what? Take my number and I'll get in touch with you. No, actually, no, I'll take your number. My bad. You can't take my number. I'll take your number and we'll figure something out one day. That's what it is right now.
My people will call your people.
Right. We'll figure something out. We'll work something out.
Yeah, just imagine people like picking up their physical version of Cyberpunk and just like blowing all the dust off it.
I mean, honestly, if my copy of Cyberpunk was like at the top of like the way I have my game stacked up, it would have had dust on it, but there were games on top of it.
Yeah.
So it did not have dust on it. Lucky for it.
Yeah. My final two thoughts on this. One of my complaints I had before still stands when you were talking about driving. Still, whenever I like go to speed off and I have to turn like slightly to get onto the road, my car does like a full 180 and spins. And I'm like, I hate that. I forgot what the second thing was, so we're just gonna move on.
Well, hold on. You just reminded me that there was something else I want to mention. After I was taking screenshots driving around, it was funny. I'm like, oh yeah, it's seeming good. It's seeming good right now. I think I took a screenshot or I went to take a screenshot, and I was like, all right, cool. I closed photo mode, and I'm not joking. I closed photo mode. I was driving. 2 seconds later, I get to a light. I stop at the light. There was a car like halfway in the ground. I pulled up. I looked at it. I was just like, never change. Never change, Night City. Never change. Yeah. I mean, of course, like bugs are still going to be in the game. But I saw that. I was like, you're not making a good first impression for yourself.
Yeah.
You're not making a good first impression. Like it was the funniest thing. I almost recorded it and put it on Twitter, but I forgot to. I was just like, that was funny. That was funny. The only bug I encountered in my like 30, 45 minutes playing it that night too. The only one I encountered. Yeah. But I was like, that is hilarious. But if you check my Twitter, I had posted some screenshots that I took that night. And one of them was a comparison because I remember I was trying to find comparison points that I had been to in the PS4 to go back here in the PS5 to do screenshots for like side by side. I couldn't remember any, but I was like, I know Afterlife. I had some that I could do easily. I don't remember where the heck Afterlife was, but somehow, some way I happened upon Afterlife. And I was like, oh, I can do screenshots here. So I took screenshots there. One of the same, like 2 screenshots in the same spots I did in the PS4 version. I'm pretty sure I had HDR on when I played on PS4. Pretty sure I did. But wow, is it a world of a difference? Yeah. When you look at those, like, when you just look at the lighting and like smoke in the atmosphere, it is a world of a difference what this new update did for the game. It's wild. It's just visually, from a visual perspective, and from a visual perspective on consoles. Again, of course, the next gen the PS5 Series X and S versions will always going to look better than the PS4 and the Xbox definitely. One versions. No one's necessarily surprised by that. We're just like, man, it's nice to be playing this game and looking good on consoles. It doesn't look bad. Yeah. It doesn't look like passable. It doesn't, have weird polygonal people walking around with no face. It doesn't, like the buildings have textures while I'm driving down the street. The road has textures. There are people out and about. Like the world actually looks and feels alive. And it's nice to be able to be in the world like that. And I remember when we did our episode on it, when we were still Games and Gaming, that was the one thing I said. I said, I love the world of Night City. It is a world that I can see myself getting lost in, except when I'm driving around, it all goes away. When I'm driving, it's just, the world is empty. There's no one out. It's a hot mess. But when I'm just walking in the world, like it's, just the sights, everything it's just like, wow, the city feels so cool, so big, so immersive. I feel like I'm a part of that world when I'm walking around in it. So to have the game now with these new visuals and better people density and stuff like that,
Yeah.
it's just like, you know what, like it's gonna make it feel even more alive, and that is part of why I want to do a second playthrough. But if it happens, it's gonna be, bouncing between that and other stuff for sure
Yeah.
whenever it happens.
Something that you are probably not going to be bouncing around between other games is Horizon Forbidden West. A game we have both been playing this week.
That is correct. I have the
Or since
video
yesterday.
here. Yeah, since yesterday. I have the video here. I'm gonna press play if you have it pulled up. In 2 seconds. All right, I'm gonna press play in 3, 2, 1, bam. So like, yeah, Horizon Forbidden West.
Mm-hmm.
I played for, I'd say 8.5, 9 hours of
Ooh,
the game.
you might
Yeah.
be where I am because I've also played for around about 9 hours.
So just for preface here, the video that I have is basically when you kind of first reunite with your friend Aaron. You kind of had to find him in order to make this embassy happen between the Karja and the Tanakh that are in the Forbidden West. There aren't going to be any story spoilers in the footage I have here. It's basically like doing this mission where you kind of meet him, you save him, you help him out, and then you fight some other machines elsewhere, and then you go back to the town of Chain Scrape. You go back to Chain Scrape, and then you kind of tell the person who's quote unquote in charge there that, hey, get your people back to work. The people can work here again. All the bristlebacks they're done. They're taken care of. The valley is safe. I'm about 8.5, 9 hours in, and I just got to the Forbidden West.
Yeah, I think I'm like one or like maybe 2 missions ahead of you, but you're pretty much where I am.
Yeah, like we just the embassy just happened. I'm not gonna say what happens at the embassy, but the embassy just happened. Just got all the backstory I wanted and needed, and literally I paused the game there, saved it, and I will continue tomorrow because at that point it was like I knew I needed to get this together, do some other stuff. But I am enjoying this game so much so far. It is a great game.
Yeah, we are definitely in agreement on that. I haven't, my plan, because I haven't finished Zero Dawn before, so my plan was to finish Zero Dawn and then get into Forbidden West. But I was looking at the PlayStation.
Whoa, I forgot you never finished Zero Dawn. Yeah. Whoa. So this game spoiled a whole lot for you then. I hope it didn't leave you too confused because it's a lore dump.
No, like that the kind of cinematic they have at the start that explains the events of Zero Dawn helped me catch up a bit, and I knew there was gonna be something like that, like it was gonna help me catch up. I wasn't too concerned about it, to be honest. Like the game's already like however many years old, so it didn't bother me that much. If anything spoiled this one, I would have been mad, but yeah, like I'm not too concerned about it. But having played Zero Dawn so recently, this game does play a lot like Zero Dawn. Like there's a lot of the same kind of abilities, and like it feels similar, but not in a way that's like, oh, this is boring. Like it's still a lot of fun. I'm still really enjoying it. And could we just talk for a second about how absolutely gorgeous this game looks? Like,
oh my god, yes.
Like
yes.
it looks incredible.
Yes, like the facial animations, and we're both playing on PS5.
Yeah.
But the facial animations, character detail, character animations, the world, the flora, the fauna, the lighting, everything. It is just stunning. Stunning how drop dead gorgeous this game is. And like when I'm looking at the characters have in talk during cutscenes, I'm just like, wow, you look immaculate. Yeah, I was like blown away during the cutscene, during some of the cutscenes you have with, I believe it's the magistrate when you're in Chain Scrape. He's in the bar there, and he's in the tavern there. You could talk with him, and he gives you a side mission about I actually forgot what it was, but it was you had to go he had you check out a mine because the leader of Chain Scrape was telling you was being a jerk and everything. So he has you check out this mine. And like just looking at him,
Mhm.
he looked so real. I was
Yep.
like, oh my God, like just blown away with how stunning this game is. I've taken so many screenshots already and I posted some on Twitter. It's like even when you go in the photo mode and zoom in real close on characters' faces, the amount of detail that is
Mhm.
there, it's just like, and this is real time. This isn't CG, nothing. Like, wow.
Yeah, no, like it's absolutely stunning. Like, um, I'm probably going to say this about a few games, but like I'm very glad that I'm playing on the TV that I'm playing on, because like
Yeah.
it looks absolutely insane. Like the
Yeah,
amount,
HDR, OLED, or QLED
yeah,
TVs, like
exactly,
4K, it's beautiful.
yeah. Like when you creep up behind like a charger or I think they're called lancers, or lanthorns, sorry, um,
Okay, the deer ones with giant
yeah,
antlers, right?
yeah, yeah. When you creep up behind them to override them, like you can get super close and like you can like, I mean, like you say, when you go in photo mode and you zoom in a lot, like the amount of detail is just impeccable. It really is. Like they have seriously kind of like detailed everything down to the last millimeter. It looks absolutely incredible no matter what you are looking at in this game.
Right. Let's talk about the gameplay though. Like you said, it plays very similar to Zero Dawn, which is part of why I did not play much of Zero Dawn recently. I played for about 4 or 5 hours recently just to reacquaint myself with the world of the game. Just like certain little
Yeah.
mini aspects of it that forgot about in the 4 years since I played it. So like when I played, I only played up until you are allowed to go out into the world. After like you do the proving and stuff, at that point I stopped. I was like, all right, cool, I'm good. So playing this was a reminder for me, like, oh wait, yeah, Horizon's actually difficult. Like
Yeah.
it's still just as difficult as it was the original game. But like it's still really fun doing the planning and prepping out like how you want to go about taking on a set of machines. Like even the simple basic machines like the burrowers, who are like the pretty easy ones to take
Yeah.
on, even they can like take you out fairly quickly and fairly easily if you are not careful and aware of what's going on, and if you don't like prepare properly to take them out and fight them and everything. And that goes doubly so for the bristlebacks and the
Hmm.
scroungers. Like the bristlebacks and the scroungers, oh my gosh, they've been a beast to go up against. But again, when you use your focus, if you know how to take them on, you can shoot an acid arrow at the acid tank on them, and that could take them out in one hit once it explodes.
Yeah.
Or if you shoot, I think the fire arrows at the scroungers, I believe, or no, I think it's the ice arrows at not the ice arrows, the ice bomb things
Yeah.
at the scroungers. Like that'll freeze them, and you could do more damage on them and stuff like that. Like having all that in mind and keeping all these elements and mechanics in mind when you're going against these enemies, it's just so much fun. It's so rewarding.
Yeah. And like something that like because I haven't played Zero Dawn in a couple of weeks, so something I had even forgot about is like you said, like almost having to like instead of like charging head on into combat, you need to stay back and be like, okay, this is how I'm going to approach this situation. Because if you
Mhm.
just run in, then chances are you are going to get killed because this game is difficult, even playing on normal. So
Yeah.
like, and that's almost something I like with this game, where like I usually am somebody who will just charge in head on and will like I'm not a big fan of stealth games because I charge in head on most of the time. I can't be bothered with stealth. But like this game, like you almost have to.
Yeah. You
Um,
got to be careful, or else
yeah,
it's gonna be you. You're gonna be 6 feet under.
yeah, exactly. But the kind of the first thing that kind of gave me the hint of like, oh damn, this game is going to be much bigger in scope than Forbidden West was when I looked at the skill tree, because
Yes.
there isn't just like one or two kind of categories. It's like there is a whole like kind of like six or
I think it's
seven
like
branches of
yeah.
skill tree that you can go down and like, and it's not just like you buy a skill and forget about it. You have like I think they're called valor abilities where like
Hmm.
you can like once you buy three connecting skills, then you can get a valor ability, and it might be I think the first one that I unlocked was um
Is it the
the
one for the hunter path?
it's the one that makes you kind of go not invisible but like is harder to
Oh,
detect.
I know which one
um
you're talking about. Yeah, I didn't
yeah,
get it yet. I haven't gotten any of the valor skills yet. Because I've been doling out my skill points kind of somewhat evenly across each of the trees. Like
Mm.
hunter and warrior have the most for me, but I have like a few in the machine master one. I have a few in the trapper one. I have a few in the survivor
Yeah.
one. I have some of the stealth one. Um, but like I've because I've been trying to plan out like what I want to put my points into and how I
Mm.
want to make my Aloy fit for me and all like that.
Yeah. So like because if you look at it like a comparison between like the skill tree in Zero Dawn, the skill tree in Forbidden West, they are like two entirely different beasts. Because like I said,
Yeah.
in Forbidden West, you have so many more skills to choose from, and there's skill trees that are like they're honestly more complex than they were in Zero Dawn with the addition of like passive, active, valor abilities and all like that.
Yeah, like I when I replayed Zero Dawn for the few hours I did, I didn't get far enough to like do anything with the skill tree.
Yeah.
So I didn't look at it. I forgot to look at it. But when I opened this one up and I saw a skill tree, I was like, this is not what the last one was like. The
Yeah.
last one I think was just like 3 different like tabs or whatever. And this is like far
Yeah.
more complex and blown out. And I'm not it's not like a bad thing. It's just like, oh, okay. So now like it's things are a bit more separated and doled out where I can really put my focus in the aspects I want to focus on and all. Like it makes it more I don't know if like clear or clean is the right word, but I guess more focused. I guess like each skill
Yeah.
tree is like this is the focus on this one. Allows you to really focus in the Aloy that you want to have with your character.
Yeah, no, like exactly. Like it's a lot more in depth. What like when I first looked at the map,
Oh yeah, I did that
yeah,
too. Once I was
yeah,
able to, I was like, let me look at this map. I was like, okay, it looks pretty big. I couldn't tell if it was. I think it is bigger than Zero Dawn's, but I can't tell by how much. I remember
yeah,
Zero Dawn's map being surprisingly large for what it was. I think this one is, I don't know, like 1.2 times bigger, maybe. It's just like
yeah,
as a brief guess, like brief glance, take a look at it.
yeah. When I
Like
like,
I don't know if it'll be bigger, but it's bigger, maybe not by much, but I'm sure it's gonna be denser because you
oh,
have the
100%.
underwater stuff for sure going on in this game.
Yeah, like when I first looked at it, I honestly thought it was a little bit smaller than Zero Dawn's. Like I was looking at it, I'm like, this doesn't look that big in comparison to Zero Dawn. And then I looked at how far I'd traveled, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be massive because I traveled like this distance on the map. And it
Mhm.
like and
Yeah.
in game it felt like I'd walked like 10 miles. So
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm enjoying this game a lot so far. I am very excited to continue. I'm enjoying it. I think maybe as much as I did Zero Dawn, if not slightly more at this point. Especially with like some of the other stuff that we'll get into probably a little bit at some point in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm enjoying it for sure so far. I've been doing like a nice I was trying to do as many like the side quests as I could in that area before I moved on because I didn't
Yeah.
know like, hey, when am I gonna be able to come back here? But I'm liking the side quests so far. They're interesting, they're
Hmm.
intriguing. They're not just like the fetch quest type things. Like
Yeah.
they each tell a really cool story, even if I might have forgotten about some of them. It's been a day and all like that. But the stories that they're telling, whether it be the group that is waiting for their leader to come back because they're like relying on him to find a new
Yeah.
home, or the one where you're trying to prove a guy's innocence because he killed a member of the military, but he did it for a good reason, but he doesn't have the proof to back it up and all. Like it's the side quests are really cool. In the main storyline, it's definitely now it's about the point where it's like, all right, now main story, the story, quote unquote, training wheels are off, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
Now it's kind of like we're off to the races. And even up to this point, it's been interesting and intriguing, especially just seeing how Aloy is. I mean, this game picks up 6 months after for Zero Dawn.
Yeah.
So just seeing how Aloy is being with her personality and how she is towards some of her friends, I can it's like you could kind of clearly tell, or at least I presume we're going to be going down a certain route with her character and character development, considering that we've seen this type of character development, you know, in other forms of media, whether it be games, movies, TV shows, whatever. The character who's like, I got this task to do and I got to do it on my
Yeah.
own. It's got to be me. So like I'm curious to see how that plays out and how it develops throughout the game and all. But as of right now, I'm in. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes and being able to truly explore the Forbidden West. It hasn't been a bug-free experience for me. I've noticed like a bit of a lack of polish here. Like some platforming has been a bit janky. Some people have done like some weird animations, like in the back of a cutscene, there was a dead body that was just like eat, just like bouncing up and down a bit. And the opening, not the opening cutscene, but when Aloy, when she leaves Meridian to go off, and you have like the opening credits popping up on the screen.
Yeah.
All on PS5, that's all done in real time, which is impressive. What made it so clear that was done in real time, though, is the fact that in between like scene cuts, there would be obvious like pauses / stutters, but also like even more distracting than that was the fact that in some of those changes, like textures would just take a moment to load in. Like there would be like when she was going to the mountains, like it was blobs, and then they loaded in. So it hasn't been totally clean technically, but I'm enjoying it so far.
Yeah, and just real quick, you're reviewing it, right?
Yes, I'm reviewing it. I am hoping to have the review done and out anywhere from the 4th to the 18th. Hopefully on the earlier end of that, because I got my Kingdom Hearts project to work on. Yeah. Hopefully on the earlier end, but anywhere between the 4th to the 18th, this review will be out. That is my goal.
Yes. But we will talk about Forbidden West, I'm sure, more next week. But for now, that is going to finish episode 46 of the Play to Win podcast. Thank you all very much for watching. You can find us on YouTube if you're watching here. If you're listening on podcast services, subscribe over there. We very much appreciate it. Take the notification bell so you know when new stuff goes live. Head over to our website, playwingames.wordpress.com, where you will find all the latest updates on the show. Nope, that's for the wrong part. You will find all of our content in one place, as well as our review policy about us, all the good stuff like that. And follow us on Instagram and Twitter as well at Play to Win Game. That's really updates on the show and any random stuff that we post. Tyler, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at TylerMiller2496. Follow me over there for anime and gaming talk and more Horizon Forbidden West screenshots. I'm going to be posting a lot over there. I posted some on the Play to Win Twitter and Instagram. I'm going to be posting more for sure on my personal Twitter. So follow me over there for those.
You can find my screenshots of Horizon Forbidden West at Badlynet, BADLYNET, all one word, on Twitter and maybe Instagram as well. Thank you all very much for watching, and we will see you all for the podcast next week.
Have a great one.